Hello, Farhan.
Hey, Gregory. Good morning. How's it going?
Good morning, Farhan. It's going fun. I make a lot of duties today.
Uh-huh.
Okay, one moment. I'm going to other browser. Okay.
Sure, sure. No problems.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, good to see you again. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Good to see you too. Uh, we clean new vacuum cleaner, and
hmm
my wife going to try it. So want to use it just now. I asked her, may I make one class with 400? No, I want to clean up.
That's funny. It's going to make a lot of noise, right? When you use it inside the house, I think. Gregory, are you there? I can't hear you. Not sure if you can hear me, Gregory. Hey, Ken. How's it going?
Yes, I'm fine. How are you?
Good, good. There were some. Oh, okay. So yeah. So we have Gregory as well.
How are you
Hey,
hearing
Gregory.
me?
Welcome back. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. I think something happened
Hello,
with the browser.
hello, Ken.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
So, yeah, you were saying, Gregory, I'm sorry, you were saying that your wife wanted to vacuum, but the vacuum would probably make a lot of noise, right?
Yes, when she begin, I'm escape from class. I'm sorry. Uh, I'm sorry now.
No, that's fine. No, that's not a problem. It's not a problem. But it's good to see both of you guys, actually. I'm gonna actually go ahead and get the class started. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about modals of deduction, right? And the way we use modals of deduction in English really involves using different kinds of modals such as must, may or might, and could, right? So must is that kind of 95%. If you're really confident that something's going to happen, then you can say must, right? You could also say uh, so what's the construction when it comes to must, right? I think you guys probably remember, but I'm going to go over this anyway. Uh, Also, guys, there's an echo. Do one of you guys have a headphone jack or something? Or could
I'm,
you guys maybe?
that's uh, sorry.
Oh, no problems, Gregory. That's fine.
Now it's good.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you so much, Gregory. All right.
Sorry.
So, no, that's fine. So, guys, yeah, when we look at the different types of modals of deduction, right, we have must, which is for something you're very positive about, 95%. We have may or might, which is about 50%. And we have could, which is about 25%, right? So, we use these modals of deduction when we are talking about deducing things, right? The word deduce in English, right, deduce gives the word deduction. And when you deduce something, you are using whatever's around you to make an assumption. You know, you're using the evidence around you to make an assumption. Now, depending on how confident you are in that assumption, that depends. Depending on how confident you are in your assumption, will make you use either must or may or might or could. You have to know how confident you are. So if I drive by a house and I see that there's a window broken, and I heard last night that there was a robber in that neighborhood, I could say that must be because of a robber, right? Or it must have been a robber, right? So there are tons of different ways that you can make these constructions. If you're talking about the past, you can say it must, and then you have that word have, and then a past participle, right? So you have a subject, you have a modal, and you have a past participle. So this is primarily when there's something in the past, right? So past tense construction, we have subject, modal, have, and then past participle, right? It must have been a robber, right? Or you see a building that's almost destroyed from, it's all black and it's all burned out. You can say it must have been a fire, right? So many times we talk about this in the past tense. If we talk about it in the present tense, really, there's not that much difference. It will just be the subject, then the modal, and then the word be, instead of have been or instead of having a past participle. It's just the modal and the word be, and then a noun after that, right? So you see you see a very luxurious car on the street, right? You can say it must be very expensive, right? In that case, it's more of an opinion, right? But you can also talk about a noun. You can say it must be the Ferrari. Who knows? It must be a Ferrari, right? So the present construction is really the same kind of deal, except we use a modal and then a be instead of a modal plus have and a past participle. So that's really where we draw the line, guys, between these two types of things. And remember, must is when we are 95% confident, may or might is about 50%, and could is about 25%, right? Any questions on that, guys? Making the constructions.
Any other using of this construction? It must be its opinion, but other cases, you have example?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. So for example, if we use a subject, modal, be, and a noun, right? So be and an opinion could be something like, wow, that must be very expensive, right?
It is possibility, must be. It must be, it's possibility, yeah?
Well, in this case, actually, we are thinking about possibility. You could say the possibility of how likely it seems to you that something happened, right? So possibility is kind of like a little bit of a tricky word because you already see what you see, right? So the idea is you're making a
But you're
statement.
not sure. But you're not sure.
Yeah, the idea is that you're making a statement about that using what you see, right? So that's how we deduce things. So this word deduce in English is really at the heart of this debate, right? Deducing means you look at the evidence and you make an assumption, or you make a statement to the best of your knowledge, right? Just to the best of your knowledge. If you're not very knowledgeable, then you should say could. If you're very knowledgeable and very confident, then you should use must, right? So it's like a chance. How much chance is there that what you're saying is true, right?
Can you say it must be what I want?
It must be what I want.
It's my view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can say that. For example, let's say you go to a store and you see something that you really like, right? Or actually, instead of it must be what I want, let's say you're shopping for somebody, right? And let's say your wife said, Gregory, maybe like for an anniversary or something, right? She describes to you something that she likes, but it's a surprise, because women do that. Women are always like that. They give you a description and they say, you find me something, right? Maybe for an anniversary gift. You go to the store, you find something that matches that description, very, very close, right? So then you can say, wow, this must be what she wants, right?
Mm-hmm.
This must be what she was asking for or what she wants. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So using the evidence that you have, as to the best of your ability, using the evidence that you have and all the knowledge that you have, how sure are you about something? That's what it boils down to.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, great question, actually. That was a very good question. Ken, what about you? Any questions from you?
No, not
It makes sense?
clear.
Okay, great, guys. This is a high intermediate class, so we're actually going to stop with the grammar at that point. The only thing I want you to share with me, guys, is that I wanted to know what are some of the things that you guys may do, today, or depending on where you are, tonight, or even tomorrow. I think in Japan it's very late, so what are some things that you may do today, right? So this right here, the construction is going to be just the present tense, right? We can say, for example, I may, and then just a verb, right? So I wanted to talk to you guys about a third type of construction using may or might, right? This is not involving modals of deduction, really, right? I just want you guys to use I may and then a verb, right? So I may go to the mall, I may go to sleep early, I may rest for for a few more hours. So Ken, what are you maybe going to do later today? Or let's say
Me?
tomorrow. Yeah.
Uh, I may attend some classes.
I may attend some classes. Yeah. You're not sure, right? You might not, right? You may or you
Yeah.
may not. Uh-huh. Fantastic. And Gregory, what about you? What are you maybe going to do today?
Just after class, I must pick up my daughter from grandma and bring up to house, and I may invite my grandchildren uh, to us and play with them.
Fantastic. So in that example, Gregory, you did a great job, right? These are what we call modals of necessity, I think is the right way to describe them. I'm not sure what the exact thing is, but you're describing how necessary it is, right? I must, right? I must pick up my daughter. So just another use of that word, right? Um, so good job, guys. We have about a half hour for the article, so let's get started actually. And I want to see what we can learn about these space rocks. So one of the things that happened recently was in Russia there was a large space rock, something from space, a large rock came flying into the atmosphere, right? And it was the city of Chelyabinsk, Chelyabinsk, right? And these meteors entered the atmosphere and they just disintegrated when they were close to the surface of the Earth, right? And the people on the ground saw these balls of fire, these huge. I mean, they look like rockets or something, right? Nobody died, but there were a lot of, like buildings were broken, glass was broken across a lot of different buildings. So the idea that scientists are now saying that these big rocks could actually strike the Earth much more frequently than we have seen before, right? Much more frequently than we have seen before. So here's the article, guys, right? And we'll take a look. What is going on with these space rocks, right? And just as always, guys, remember to stop me anytime you guys have any questions about the article, any vocabulary. So it says here, big space rocks could strike the Earth more frequently, right? There are scads of building-size, potentially hazardous asteroids lurking in Earth's immediate neighborhood, and they may be colliding with the planet 10 times more often than scientists have previously believed, according to a new study published Wednesday that examined the airburst of a 25 million pound asteroid earlier this year near the Russian city of Chelyabinsk. Right? Guys, any questions about any words in this paragraph? For example, the word scads, right? Scads are just an example of SCAD means a collection, right? So there are collections of building-size hazardous asteroids. There are tons of them near our immediate neighborhood in space, right? And then they talk about the scientists believe that the chance of collision is 10 times more than what we previously thought, right? Any questions on this one, guys?
No.
Makes sense, okay. Three studies released Wednesday, two in the journal Nature and one in the journal Science, have provided the most detailed description and analysis of the dramatic event on the morning of February 15. So it was, a good 9 months ago that we had the event at Chelyabinsk, but now we have new studies that share the information with us, right? Scientists now estimate the diameter of the object at just a hair under 20 meters, or about 65 feet. Undetected by astronomers, the rock came out of the glare of the sun and hit the atmosphere at 43,000 miles per hour. As it descended through the atmosphere, it broke into fragments, creating a series of explosions with a combined energy of about 500 kilotons of TNT, making it more than 30 times more powerful than the atom bomb that destroyed Hiroshima in 1945, although the energy, in this case, was spread out over a much broader area, right? So it's an enormously powerful asteroid, right? So the word asteroid, guys, actually, I should have focused on this before. An asteroid is a space rock, right? A rock that's in space. It may be doing its own thing. It may be going towards different bodies. It could enter the atmosphere of the Earth, right? If you guys have seen the movie Armageddon, it's all about an asteroid possibly striking Earth, right? So we see here, 65 feet or about 20 meters diameter, traveling at 43,000 miles per hour with extremely high energy, right? Crazy, crazy. Any questions on this paragraph, guys? I think it makes sense then. Okay. The shock wave blew out windows in nearly half the buildings in Chelyabinsk. It knocked people off their feet. Dozens were sunburned by the flash, which at its peak was 30 times brighter than the sun. About 1,200 people were hurt, most by broken and flying glass, but no one was killed. One chunk the size of a love seat landed in frozen Chebarkul Lake, leaving a circular hole as if shot with a bullet from space. That fragment, which weighed about 1,900 pounds, was retrieved months later. Right. So they're saying that there was a huge part of this asteroid, the size of a love seat. A love seat, guys, is a sofa for two people. Right. So it was a large fragment. It landed in this lake and it left a hole. And this little piece was 1,900 pounds. And it was retrieved a few months later. So scientists have looked at that to see what maybe happened. The scientific investigation relied to a great degree on video imagery obtained by dash cams, the cameras Russian drivers often use to document car crashes and potentially abusive law enforcement. Scientists visited 10 locations where the footage had been taken by stationary cameras and used landmarks to create a map of the asteroid's trajectory. Right? So a lot of Russian drivers, they use cameras in their cars to either take video of other car crashes or whatever, but also police that are very abusive, so they want to have evidence, so they use these video cameras. These video cameras allowed the scientists to see what was happening, because a lot of the videos that we have of this asteroid come from these video cameras, right? And so any questions, guys, on these couple of paragraphs here?
Retrieved.
Fantastic, right? Something that is retrieved. What do you think it means based on the context, Ken?
Found.
Yeah, retrieved is very close to found. It means like recovered.
Mm-hmm.
It was recovered a few months later. So yeah, for example, the dog that's called a golden retriever. It's a very popular dog, right? A retriever, the golden retriever, dogs in general, if you throw something, they bring it back to you, right? So you're kind of recovering something after you get rid of it. So retrieved. You get that? That's a great question. Any other questions, guys? I know there are a lot of words in these three paragraphs. Okie doke, guess not. Okay. Uh, Taken together, the new information on Chelyabinsk does not suggest that the sky is falling, right? But it may shift the overall risk profile of asteroids, making Chelyabinsk-size events look more probable, right? That's the conclusion of Peter Brown, a professor at Western University in London, Ontario, who re-examined decades of data compiled by scientific and military sensors. The scientific orthodoxy said a Chelyabinsk-size event ought to happen every 140 years or so, but Mr. Brown saw several such events in the historical record. Famously, a large object exploded over the Tunguska region of Siberia in 1908, but there have been less heralded impacts, including one on August 3, 1963, when an asteroid created a powerful airburst off the coast of South Africa. Right? So, what is the main idea? What is this guy Peter Brown actually saying? Right? What is the main idea of this article? What do you guys think Peter Brown is saying?
It's Chelyabinsk is place when asteroids fall 140 years. Every 140 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
more than in the other places.
Oh, well, actually, Gregory, it's a little bit different from that, actually. So it's a little bit different. So this right here, it says, the scientific orthodoxy said a Chelyabinsk-size event ought to happen every 140 years or so, right? So it's not saying necessarily that something like this will happen in Chelyabinsk in 140 years. It's saying that something like this Chelyabinsk event, right? It doesn't matter where in the world, right? But scientists believed before Chelyabinsk that something this large could only happen once every 140 years, right? But now, this guy Peter Brown, right? Peter Brown believes that it's actually more likely to happen uh, more frequently, right? So Chelyabinsk was a big surprise because this asteroid was so large, right? He's saying, oh, we should not be so surprised because instead of every 140 years, maybe we'll see something like this every 20 years, right? Somewhere in the world, something like Chelyabinsk, once every 20 years or once every 14 years, right? Because if he said 140 at the beginning of the article, they said something about 10 times more often, right? So once every 14 years, we could see something like Chelyabinsk, right? Kind of crazy, guys, right? I mean, if you think about the idea, Chelyabinsk to me was, when I saw the video, I was very surprised. I thought it was a missile initially, right? I thought it was a rocket or a missile of some kind. Turned out it was just a rock from space, right? And the way it created the explosion, I mean, it was unbelievable. The glass just broke out. 43,000 miles an hour. I mean, it was traveling extremely fast, right? Um, what do you guys think, how big a danger, if we say that, if we hear from these doctors that these space rocks are going to be attacking Earth once every 14 years, once every 20 years, once every 30 years, who knows, right? How big an impact do you think that will make on us? How dangerous is that? What do you think, Gregory?
I don't think it's so dangerous like the scientists say, because uh, it's not so frequency,
Mm-hmm.
and like you drive the car, there is possibility of crash, but everybody not afraid because possibility so low. Uh, no one pay attention of this fact.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the same.
Yeah, you're probably more likely to get injured in a car accident than
Yeah,
you are
more
ever,
than
ever, ever to get hit by an asteroid, right?
country, more people was killed in car accidents than in all wars of our country. It's a very dangerous place, road and highway, but nobody afraid. Our possibility not so
Not so
not
high.
not so high. Yeah.
Uh, that's interesting, because people get scared when they see these things, right? I think it's something about humans when we see maybe a large explosion, when we see maybe some kind of a plane crash, right? People always focus so much on the plane crashes in the news, right? I mean, I think just a few days ago there was a plane crash in the city of Kazan in Russia, right, Gregory? So, I mean, they focus on that. Even I found out, I mean, I don't, I only watch a little bit of news, right? But even I found out about that. Um, and but there are so many people dying from car crashes, from natural deaths and things like that, that we don't really pay attention. You're right, Gregory. Uh, Ken, what would you say? Do you think it poses a significant danger to us in the future?
Mm, uh, it's up to where it hit. It will hit where. If
Hmm.
it hit a dense population area, it could be a. It's gonna be a big problem. Many people are killed, will be killed. And I heard one radio show about this, and actually Armageddon, last part of the Armageddon, and kind of they shoot a atomic bomb kind of thing into the rock, huge rock from space, but that won't solve the problem because it just scale down the size, but still a lot of rocks falling from the space. So scientists think how to change the trajectory of the stone, rocks, rock.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the only way we can survive.
But I mean, Armageddon was kind of fictional, right? Because what happened? Bruce Willis
Yeah.
went onto the asteroid,
So
and he actually dug a hole and he put the bomb inside, and then he died.
yeah, but that scientist said that won't solve the problem.
Hmm.
Just
Interesting.
many rocks, still many rocks
But
will fall from the space.
the thing is, Kendo, what happens? What would you think? You said that if it maybe something like this happens in a more populated area, right, then many people would die. The article actually mentions that no one has ever died from an asteroid attack. Nobody in recorded history has ever died from an asteroid attack. So if we jump back to the article, actually, I believe I want to just make sure I'm saying this correctly. Um, let's see. It's in the paragraph that begins with. It's in the third to last paragraph, right? Taken together, the new information on Chelyabinsk does not suggest that the sky is falling. Then in parentheses, he writes, no one has ever been killed by an asteroid in all of recorded human history. Right? So, do you think the threat is of death? Is it something that serious, or do you think it would be something like injury in that case? Maybe a lot of injured people, because this attack led to about 1,200 people that were injured, right? But no one died.
So because it's not hit big city actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
it's
yeah,
still danger, and
Sorry, Ken, you're
I'm
not right. It's very big city. It's more than 1 million citizens.
but it's foreign inside the city. I
Yeah,
mean,
city, very big city of
I
Siberia.
mean, it's directly hit to the residential area.
yeah.
I
Did it
don't
hit
know.
the? Did it hit like the inside of the city, Gregory, or did it hit outside the city? Where did it fall? I don't know, actually.
I don't know too. But
Uh,
city is very big.
city's a bigger city. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah, but
yeah.
city's size and where does it hit are different kind of thing.
That is
If
true.
it's yeah,
Because they did say one of these large pieces fell into a lake, right? If that had fallen on a house, right, I'm sure somebody would have died, right? I mean, so there is a possibility. There is a possibility. I guess we just get lucky, right? I mean, the other one they mentioned was there was an attack in Siberia, right? I mean, who lives in Siberia, right? So I don't think that nothing happened in that attack either, right? What if it attacks the ocean? What would happen if it attacks the ocean? Okay.
maybe attack the ocean. Maybe surround. If the ship were surround around there, that it's gonna be hit, and it's tsunami. I don't know, but it could be the tsunami kind of high wave might be caused.
Yeah, I think a tsunami is likely if you have an ocean attack,
Mm.
right? I mean, because
But
all this water just goes out of nowhere, you know.
this phrase is the kind of like why this kind of happen. Sorry. The additional. Does it also said size event ought to happen 100 years or so, but Mr. Brown says several such events in the history record.
Hmm.
Uh, hmm?
So the reason he says that is he investigated the entire history. He looked at all the asteroid events
Mhm.
for as far back as he could, and he said previously scientists thought that something like this would have only happened every 140 years, but he saw other examples of events this large that happened in the past. So nobody had taken all the information and looked at it together. He looked at all of it and he said there was one in Siberia, there was one in South Africa, right, in 1960, 1963. That was only about 50 years ago, right? So it's not as rare as 140 years. It's actually much, much more frequent. That's the only thing he said that I can think of. He didn't give any evidence, though. These articles don't explain how they reach these findings, unfortunately, right? But we know the guy's name, Robert Brown, Ontario. We can email him maybe and ask him what his evidence is. Yeah, I mean, a lot of professors actually do that. If you reach out to them. But yeah, so the idea is maybe it's not totally a human danger kind of thing, right? Maybe it will not endanger people to a huge extent. But you know, I want to ask you guys, what would you guys do if you saw one of these things flying through the sky, right? Would you
Uh,
say, what would go through your mind? Yeah, Gregory, go ahead.
when I was child, I was in 1 month in astronomy, no, astronomy school, astronomy class, and
Hmm.
we come in the night and go out, watch the uh, asteroids, and it's happened all time. If you don't have light uh, surround you, it must be very dark place. You can see asteroids, a lot of asteroids, and it's happened, and it's not sure it's danger, but we can see it. It's a terrific view.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome, right? I've never had the chance, Gregory, to go out into the middle of nowhere in a place with no lights and to watch the
You
sun.
you can find some mountain where is not any lights,
Uh-huh.
almost a dark place, and go to the place. You can see a lot of asteroids.
When I was driving down to California at night when I was in the mountains, I remember I remember looking up and there were so many stars. It was beautiful. Very beautiful, but I didn't want to stop.
And if you will stop your car and go out, you can see asteroid.
Yeah, yeah. So they do happen, right? And we see when they fly through the sky, we actually call that a shooting star. Have you guys heard that word? So sometimes you see something, you're looking at the sky and you see something just fly right across, like really fast, right? It's a shooting star. So it's an asteroid that is now disintegrating, right? Um, and yeah, Gregory, what you say is absolutely correct because so many small fragments are entering the Earth's atmosphere every day, every minute, every hour that they just disintegrate. They just burn up in the atmosphere and they turn to they become powder by the time they reach Earth. So nobody feels them, right? But
Hmm.
when it's a huge, large rock like this that the atmosphere cannot destroy, that's when it breaks up closer and causes all these little pieces to fall everywhere. So yeah, that's awesome. Shooting stars. Man, I wish I
And
could
when
do
I
that.
was in a museum uh, in exposition, you can see these rocks. And
Hmm.
mm, they say it's very, very weight rocks. It's
Mm-hmm.
small, but his weight very large.
Mm-hmm. So they're very heavy.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're
Very heavy rocks.
very heavy rocks. Yeah, yeah. No, that's really interesting. Really, really interesting. Uh, Ken, what about you? What would you do if you saw one of these things flying through the sky? Would you say it must be Superman, it must be a man? I
Yeah,
was joking. Yeah.
yeah, kind of shooting star. Sometimes I watch shooting stars, but yeah, most of them, burning out when they reach to the earth. It's harmful. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
So
big size is a kind of harmful.
would you get scared if you saw something like this just flying through the sky?
But we cannot avoid. I cannot avoid that. I have
And
nothing to do with that. So
yeah, it's uh it's one of those things. I don't know, guys, what I would do. I would probably start taking pictures. Start taking a lot of
yeah,
videos and
shooting
pictures.
video might be, yeah, because this time many people shoot a video and post it to YouTube.
Hmm.
Maybe that's a kind of important record, actually.
It was, right? The scientists used those videos to make
Yeah,
to understand what actually was going on.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to say about this. If you watch asteroid, it's not yours, and it's if it's yours, you don't have time escape. So don't worry.
I know. Just have to accept the reality, right? I can't get out.
Yeah.
Whatever will happen, right? But if you're seeing it fly, yeah, then it may not be affecting you, right? So you can take a picture or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. When I saw the video, guys, I was very surprised. It was very large. I mean, I don't know if the Russian Air Force thought that maybe America was attacking or China was attacking or some other country was attacking, but um, even at the beginning of the
Oh,
movie,
it's a
yeah,
real danger. Something army of some country can be think it's rocket attack and begin the
yeah,
war.
oh yeah,
But I think say can understand what is it. It's
hmm
asteroid or it's rocket.
absolutely,
I
absolutely,
hope I hope they
yeah.
can.
We don't want to start a war over an asteroid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but regardless, I think in terms of the science, right, that people are learning about this event, I'm happy that nobody was killed, but they did say that a lot of people were sunburned, right? So they maybe because it was so bright, right? They said that this asteroid was 30 times more bright than the sun at one point, right? So just being outside, your skin got singed, right? When we say in English, singed means something like, let me actually tell you guys what this is, because I don't want to make a mistake with this. Singeing a layer of skin is when it burns and when it kind of becomes like a crispy, like fried. You know what I mean? So I think some people maybe suffered from this singed skin, and it's really terrible if they had to live through something like that. I don't know how bad an injury that is. If it's something that totally destroyed their skin or if it's skin cancer related. I don't know,
That
but yeah,
that means watching that dangerous for eyes.
it could. I think so. If it's 30 times brighter than the sun, right? People say don't look at the sun. This is 30 times brighter than the sun,
Uh-huh.
right? So I mean, it's very, very, very hot, right? Very bright, traveling at a very fast speed. Human nature is just to look up. I mean, if you see something like that, but I'm very surprised. Even with all of that stuff, nothing happened. Nothing. Nobody got injured or nobody got killed, right? Or nobody became blind. Just that their skin got sunburned, probably got singed. Maybe that top layer is burned a little bit. You know,
It was in the day or in the night.
it was during the day actually, Gregory.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, one student came from that town I met on Coringo.
Oh, really?
But at that time, topic is not this issue, so he
Uh-huh.
didn't talk anything about this. But yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah, it's fascinating for me, guys, because I was always interested in astronomy, but I never had a chance to take any classes. I took the biology and the chemistry, all those classes. Never took astronomy, unfortunately. So to me, it's still just a wonder. You know, a very. I always think about it with wonder, with excitement. Like, wow, if I see the stars at night when I was driving through the mountains, I was thinking, wow, it's just so beautiful. But I can't tell you which star is the North Star or the East Star, or not the East Star, but the North Star. And then there's other famous stars in the sky. I have no idea what they are.
My
So
friend like astronomy, so he own telescope and he follow all events and go to see what happened. It's happened very interesting events sometimes, uh, like
yeah,
uh, star rain. I don't know how it's called in English, but in Russian, star rain. It's very interesting
yeah.
events,
I think those are we say in English we say
and
meteor showers.
it's
Meteor
very
showers.
large count of asteroids at the same time,
Hmm.
or some other events in the sky. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
How strong is this telescope? Can you see a lot
I
of the?
don't
Oh,
know.
oh,
I
yeah.
don't know. But it's strong enough.
Yeah. I would love to actually look at the moon. If I get a chance, I would love to buy a nice telescope and just look at the moon. The moon is so interesting also, you know. I mean, and it's so much closer to us, so we can see it better, right? Even with a cheaper telescope, I could probably see the moon, but the stars are very, very far away. So hopefully, I might not be able to with a very cheap kind of telescope. But in any case, guys, so just wanted to sort of wrap things up a little bit. When we talk about models of deduction, right, we are talking about how likely it is that something happened, right, depending based on our evidence, the evidence that we have, or based on our understanding of something, right? So you're deducing something, you're assuming something using your knowledge, right? The likelihood of how something how likely the likelihood of an event that happened or is happening or that you see, right? You're deducing through your own knowledge and other evidence, right? We see must 95%, very, 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 very confident that what you believe is what actually happens or happened, right? May or might is for 50%, and could is for 25%, where you're really not that sure, right? It could be a shooting star, Someone like me, I have no idea, right? It could be a shooting star. It could be a meteor shower, maybe more than one, right? I have no idea, right? But somebody like Gregory's friend would say it must be a shooting star, because he knows so much more um, about the different kinds of stars that are out there. And then we looked at this article that happened in Chelyabinsk, and practiced some of the constructions there. Any questions, guys, about the article or anything else you guys wanted to ask or kind of talk about?
No. Thank you for class, Farhan.
Absolutely, Gregory. It's a pleasure. Always good to see you.
And
Uh,
have a nice day.
you too, Gregory. Thank you so much.
Uh,
And
Can you too. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Have a nice
awesome,
day.
awesome, Ken.
Bye
Take care,
bye.
guys. See you guys soon.
See you. Bye. Take
Bye bye.
care.
Okay, one moment. I'm going to other browser. Okay.
Sure, sure. No problems.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, good to see you again. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Good to see you too. We clean new vacuum cleaner, and
Hmm.
my wife going to try it. So want to use it just now. I asked her, may I make one class with 400? No, I want to clean up.
That's funny. It's going to make a lot of noise, right? When you use it inside the house, I think. Gregory, are you there? I can't hear you. Not sure if you can hear me, Gregory.
Hello,
Hey,
Farhan.
hey, Gregory. Good morning. How's it going?
Good morning, Farhan. It's going fun. I make a lot of duties today.
Uh-huh.